Welcome to the next presentation in our ESSA video series titled Exploring the Body of Evidence for a Selected Program. I'm Dr. Amy Boza, Arizona's Director of English Language Arts Standards and Move On When Reading.
Welcome back. It is great to be able to share more information with you today. I am Sarah Bondi, the K-3 Early Literacy Specialist at the Arizona Department of Education.
You are watching video number 6, which builds on information from all of the previous videos. In video 4, we showed you how to use the websites Evidence for ESSA and What Works Clearinghouse to help you research the best evidence-based programs for your school or district. In video 5, Lauren and Eric showed you how to read a study. If you skipped video 5, you will want to stop here and watch it before moving on. The direct link is in the video description down below. As a reminder, in video 3, the continuous improvement cycle, our REL West colleague, Dr. Lene Dunn, introduced the full West Ed guide, as seen here, titled A Guide for States to Strengthen Their Frameworks and Supports Aligned to the Evidence Requirements of ESSA. The complete guide is available for download on the West Ed website.
In this tool, we will walk you through tool number 5, titled Intervention Evidence Review, which starts on page 61 of the complete guide. Or you can download a single Word document of just tool number 5 for today's purpose. Either one can be easily accessed at the following website, which is linked below in the YouTube description.
For today's video, we ask that you have tool 5 accessible and ready to go. You will pause this video periodically to complete each step of the tool.
Your school, district, or charter is ready for tool 5 when you are interested in targeting a specific issue, problem, or outcome and want to compare the evidence basis for more than one intervention.
Keep in mind, the term interventions is more broad in nature to include the list shared. It is not necessarily tied to the interventions within a literacy RTI process.
By completing this tool, you will assess the entire body of evidence for particular interventions that target the outcome of interest. Again, please watch the previous video in this series as it will greatly support you in today's work.
Step number 1 is to get organized. This work starts on page 4. You will first decide who is to be involved. Identify which departments or programs should be represented. Then identify the individuals who will participate in the work. What are their respective roles and responsibilities in the group? Example, note taker, facilitator. The team should include individuals who have input into selecting the evidence-based interventions, stakeholders who have knowledge of the problems, issues, and context of the educational setting, and one or more participants should have a background in research. If a district has a research department, that would be the ideal person. If there isn't someone available within the school setting, you can hire an outside consultant or utilize the expertise and resources already available on Evidence for ESSA and What Works Clearinghouse. Now, pause your video to discuss with your team and school leaders to determine who is going to be involved with this process.
Now that you have determined who is going to be involved, the next piece of step 1 is to gather and organize your materials. Gather and organize documents and other materials that provide data about or describe the most pressing problems or issues in your district, charter, or school. These materials could include results from completed needs assessments or gap analysis, and from logic models, as well as graphics that depict problems or issues, along with their effects and possible causes. You may also want to develop a list of interventions that are currently in place at your district, charter, or school. Now, please pause your video to discuss with your team and school leaders what materials will be needed.
Now that you have finished step 1, convene the entire team, review the materials, and decide on what the most pressing problems, issues, or questions in your education setting are in relation to the program or funding stream under consideration, the outcomes that you would like to achieve, and possible interventions to help achieve those outcomes. Again, pause your video to discuss with your team and school leaders these 3 questions. Use the space directly within Tool 5 to record your answers.
Video 4 reviewed using evidence for ESSA and What Works Clearinghouse and locating studies. Please go back and review that video if you missed it. The information in that video will assist with your next step, step 3. Review the research. You have space on pages 9 through 13 to review 3 separate studies for the same intervention. You will need multiple copies of this tool if you are going to review more than one intervention. Now pause your video to gather with your team and researchers to obtain and review all of the available research on the intervention under study and determine whether each study provides strong, moderate, or promising evidence for the intervention or demonstrates a rationale for adoption. Based on ESSA standards and guidance from the U.S. Department of Education, as well as on the non-regulatory guidance that applies to evidence standards in education. This document is available down in our YouTube description. Caution: another thing to consider is whether any of the studies present strong negative findings. If they do, the intervention might not meet the criteria for the first 3 ESSA evidence tiers. Now pause your video.
Now on to step 4. Convene the entire team to review the studies of this intervention. Then assess the similarity of your educational setting and of the populations of interest to those used in the studies of the intervention. You want to make sure that the educational setting in the studies match the setting in your school or district. Now, pause your video and use the space directly within Tool 5 to record your answers for questions 9, 10, and 11 on page 14.
Based on the responses to the previous questions in this tool, the entire team can assess the cumulative evidence for the intervention, both in general and specifically for your particular educational setting. This information can also be used when completing the next tool, Tool 6, Comparing Evidence-Based Interventions. So pause your video to discuss with your team and school leaders the cumulative evidence for this intervention. In the next video, we will show you how to take the information learned during today's process and compare how well different evidence-based interventions align with the context of your school, district, or charter.
Thanks again for watching video 6 and working through tool number 5. Please reach out to any one of us if you want further information or need additional support with your LEA's process of reviewing evidence. See you next time.